Hey guys, RRMTG here, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about lands. More specifically, land strategies in Commander. Now, first I'm going to start with what is a land strategy. Now, lands, as a deck archetype, is a deck primarily focused around lands, as the name implies, and what, playing lands does, and you sacrifice your lands, play them again, get more land drops, get triggers for your landfall cards, and just get a bunch of synergy like that. Now, how that translates into Commander is most of the time you find a good commander that deals with with lands a lot. For example, some of the ones I'm going to talk in this video, and you build a deck around that one. Most of the time, trying to get as many land drops into play as possible. Some other commanders go different routes with this, but a lot of them are trying to just get a bunch of lands in play with some landfall trigger that, and then you just win basically off that. So I'm going to be talking about which it would be the best quote unquote lands commander for Commander. Now, this just a quick disclaimer: by lands commander, I'm not. I mean, some of these may not appear to be lands commanders, but when you build them as lands commanders, that's what I'm mainly talking about. Also, I'm not by best. I don't mean best like, oh, this is the strongest. I'm just going to go CDH and just go power level 10, turn 2 kill every. No, I mean by best. I mean in my opinion, to be the most fun and entertaining commander. So without further ado, I'm going to start talking about some commanders. Now, there's some honorable mentions on this list. I'm not going to talk too much about these, but Mina and Dead Wildborn. The commander's half decent. You could build around it. It's just the only problem is the ability is just, sure, you get an additional land drop per turn, but and it also lets you re-trigger your lands by returning a land to give something trampled. But overall, I just don't think it's powerful enough to get me to talk about it too extensively. Another one is Muldrotha, the Gravetide. Sure, it gives you green, blue, and black, which is nice, but it doesn't have red, which is a weakness of some of the other lands commanders on this list. So I'm not going to talk too much, but let's let you play lands from Graveyard, which is quite nice, and it has blue and black. So we're going to move on to the commanders I'm going to talk more extensively about. The first one being Boredom Enraged. Now, Boredom if you build, it can be a very good commander deck, but as a lands commander, I'll just explain the card first. So for 8 mana, you get a legendary Cyclops, 7/6 with trample. And whenever Borgmorigmos Enraged deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top 3 cards of your library, then put all land cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. So it has some kind of card. It has some card advantage, and he also is a big creature, which is kind of underrated in Commander because it does deter early attacks sometimes, which can mean a lot. Something that is kind of underrated is people just swinging in with if they have a really fast wrist, if they get a couple damage in with wrist, well, that can come into play later. Now wrist probably isn't the best example, but Norn, for example, if they can keep getting swings in with Norn, that is kind of annoying. But if you have a big commander, you can stop that. I know the only downside is Borgmorigmos does cost 8. And he is only green-red. So you don't get the power of black tutors, or blue also has some pretty good cards like Tatiova, which is also on this I'm going to talk about later. And the problem is you have to hit to get your value off of him. Now, you do put lands in the hand. Now, his other ability, which is nice, you can discard a land card and he deals free damage to target creature or player. But the problem is you have to get lands in hand, which can be a problem sometimes. I've played a lot of lands decks, and keeping your lands in hand can be a problem, especially when you want to play them out. But I bet if you build Boredom in a slightly different way, get more effects that are, instead of just putting lands into play, which is most of the time what you're prioritizing, if you get lands in the hand, so you can discard them to his ability. Because if you discard 7 lands, he's dealing the damage, so you actually that's commander damage. You can just kill people with that, which can be pretty good. But yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about him because he does cost 8, and he is only a green and red. Next card commander I'm going to talk about is the Gitrog Monster. Now, the Gitrog Monster, for free, a black and a green, you get a legendary Frog Horror. It's a 6/6 with Death Touch. And at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice the Gitrog Monster unless you sacrifice a land. So every turn you got to sacrifice a land, or else, you have to sacrifice a land every turn. You may play an additional land in each of your turns. So That's nice. It's always nice to be able to have additional land drops. That is one thing that's very nice in Commander, is having additional land drops. And whenever one or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. Now, from anywhere is important, because if you mill them from some kind of dredge thing, you draw a card. Sacrifice an Evolving Wilds, you draw a card. If you cycle a cycle land, you draw a card. If you do a lot of things, you draw a card. So he does draw a lot of cards, but still doesn't have access to red or blue. It's only 2 color. Does have to sacrifice a land every turn. So if you're not getting him back, you might just run out of lands in your deck. Now, in Commander, less likely, but still, it's always an option, always a problem. And you're not you're ramping by 1, where some of the other ones, even Mean and Den, they ramp you by 2 every turn, which can be a slight downside. But you have other ramping, but it's okay. I could see a really good one, especially with something like Scape Shift, which you just draw a card and you get a bunch of lands. So that could be pretty good. But yeah, the Get Rug Monster, pretty good. But there is better lands commanders, in my opinion. Next commander we're going to talk about is Aamna's Locus of Rage. Now, for 7 mana, you get a 5/5 legendary elemental, which is kind of important with Aamna. And whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 5/5 red and green elemental creature token onto the battlefield. Whenever Aamna Locus of Rage or another elemental you control dies, Aamna deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Now, that last ability is really good, because if you can deal 21 damage to them, that's Aamna dealing the damage, so it's commander damage. So that can be pretty good sometimes. And he also has a landfall ability on him. Now, that's all good and all, but the thing is, he costs 7, and he's only green and red. Now, you don't have access to blue and black. Black for tutors especially, and blue for some of the other stuff, like if you have money, Cyclonic Rift. Tatty is also good in blue. But Aamna, yeah, not the pretty good. You can build a really good lands commander, because whenever a land enters, you get a 5/5, and if whenever an elemental dies, you deal 3 damage to something, which you can commander damage people out with that. You'll also sometimes maybe even build like an elemental sub theme into the deck. So Aamna, overall, good card, good commander. Next we have Tatty. Now, Tatty is only green and blue, which is not great, because red and black also have a lot of good land synergy. With Tatty, you have that important access to blue, which not many other commanders have, especially lands commanders. Now, the one I would recommend you build does have access to blue, but it's not Tatty. And does have slight life gain, because whenever a land I should probably also read the card, but whenever a land enters, so for 5 mana you get a free legendary Merfolk Druid, and whenever a land enters battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card. So you do have that slight life gain, which is quite nice. And some other things is, if you do get some stuff going pretty good, she does have storm potential. Now, storm, by that I mean, like, you just can go off, where some of the other commanders, they limit how well you can go off, but since she draws you cards, that makes you be able to go off very effectively and very fast, because she only costs 5, which is something like Boredom and Aamna Locus of Rage have as a downside, is they cost like 7 and 8, which is quite not as good, because you can't get them out as fast, so you can't get your land synergies as fast. But overall, Tatty is good. That access to red and black really does affect how good the card is. But anyways, pretty good. So next we have Aamna Locus of the Royal. Now, Aamna Locus of the Royal, for 1, a green, a blue, and a red, you get a free legendary creature elemental. And when Aamna Locus of the Royal enters the battlefield, it deals damage to any target equal to the number of elementals you control. Now, depending on how you build this, that number is going to be 1, or maybe 2, depending on how you build it. But you can make that number quite good, so it is somewhat removal. And whenever the main draw to playing as a lands commander, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target elemental you control. If you control 8 or more lands, draw a card. Now, that is a very strong ability as seen on Tatty. Now, the upside of Aamna is you still have that access to red, so you get a lot of good red cards, like the old Aamna, for example, and a lot of the other things like Nesting Dragon, and a lot of the other red synergies. Now, The only there is one downside is you need 8 lands to get that drawing a card, which is the main draw to be playing Omnath. Is you still have access to red, and your commander has, whenever you play a land, draw a card on it. But you have to have 8 lands in the play for that ability to be really relevant. He does have more he has quite a bit of elemental synergy, as you can put counters on your other elementals, and you can when he enters, you can deal a bunch of damage and maybe kill their commander, for example. Because one thing that is kind of annoying is when you play Tatiova on turn 5, and then the one guy who's like, I'm gonna play Lightning Bolt in commander. Lightning Bolt's your Tatiova for 1 mana, killing it, and you gotta get 2 more mana to be able to play it. Now you're playing land, so it's not too bad. But you have to use a land grab card to get those lands to play Tatiova, which is a downside to say. But with and that's also a downside with Omnath, but he is cheaper. He just costs only 4 mana, which is quite nice. He is the cheapest commander other than Mina and Den that I've covered. So overall, good option. You just need 8 lands and you can do stuff, which shouldn't be too hard in a lands deck. But yeah, the next one is a commander I've personally quite liked a lot, Lord Windgrace. Now, Lord Windgrace is a Planeswalker commander that they printed in one of the commander set. So for 2, a black, a red, and a green, you get a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. That's +2. Discard a card, then draw a card. If a land card is discarded this way, draw an additional card. So you discard a land, draw 2 cards. So that's really good because it'll put lands in your graveyard. For a second ability, -3, return up to 2 land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now notice that does say untapped, so it ramps you too at that turn, so it's very good. And then -11, destroy up to, which isn't too hard. If you in commander sometimes he can be left alone depending on the table, but so free upticks, 4 to survive, and you can -11 destroy up to 6 target non-land permanents, then create 6 2/2 green cat warrior creature tokens onto the battle with Forest Walk. Now, I played a Lord Windgrace deck a lot, and I've never gotten his ultimate off. But that ultimate scares people quite a bit, so that most of the time, if they'll be wanting to attack Lord Windgrace, which is very kind of annoying, which is his one downside. Your commander is a Planeswalker. But the upside to Lord Windgrace is green, red, and black, so you still get all the land. Now you don't have blue for Tatiova and some other stuff, but you still have green, red, and black, which is the main stuff you'll need for a lands deck. His first ability is card advantage. His second ability ramps you, and it gives you 2 additional land drops in a turn, which is quite nice. And his last ability is technically removal, but you have to get there. And like I've said, I've played the deck quite a bit, and I have never gotten there. So that can be a problem sometimes, but good commander. Except for, I'm just going to talk to you guys about this last one that I quite have been liking. Golos Tyros Pilgrim. Now for 5 mana, 5 colorless mana, mind you, you get a legendary artifact creature Scout. Now I've recently done a deck tech on him. You can go check it out. Just check my channel. It should be in the recent videos. But when he enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card, any land card, mind you, and put it into play tapped. Then you can shuffle your library. And he is a free 5 though, which is good. And for 2 a white, a blue, black, and a red, so for 2 in Wooburg, you exile the top 3 cards of your library, and you can play them this turn without paying their mana cost. Now, the most important part about that is you can play them this turn without paying your mana cost. So if there's lands in there, you can play them. And if you have something that gives you additional land drops, you can play those additional lands, so you get lots of lands. So lands. But let's look at some of the pros to playing Golos is he is 5 colors, so you still have access to blue, green, black, and red, and green, so you have all of the colors you'll ever need. He is a good mana sink, because if you don't have anything, sometimes with Lord Windgrace, sure you can play like 30 lands in a turn, but you don't have any good mana sink for him. With Golos, you get that mana sink, and that's very powerful, because if with that mana sink you can just keep piling out the card advantage, which is very good. Like I had mentioned, the cost is generic, so you don't have to worry about having colors to cast him. And he is color fixing, which is quite good, because his first ability you can get a tricolor land or something, and it's very good. And his card advantage, because his last ability is card advantage. Now, the cons are the playing Golos is not much land synergy on the commander. Now, sure, you can get additional land drops off of his ability, but you still have to have stuff to get additional land drops. And his first ability does 2 for a land, but it's mainly mana fixing to get his ability off. But there is one little cheeky thing I found with Golos if you don't want to run like a five color deck through and through, is what I've done is I've taken my Lord Windgrace deck that I had before. I added an Azorius Chancellery, Tatiova, and Golos, and it's worked pretty fine because what you'll do with Golos of course this is very much warranted. If your play group runs land destruction, you need to worry. You don't do this because you're running 1 blue-white land. So if they blow that up and then exile your graveyard, not good. But you just get an Azorius Chancellery, and that gives you the blue and the white for Golos' ability, so you don't have to worry too bad. And of course, if they do blow it up but they don't exile your graveyard, you can just get it back. But yeah, that's pretty. It's a way to build Golos on like a budget, so you don't have to buy another 5 color mana base, because we already know you've built Najeela and like 4 different other 5 color decks, and you're like, oh, I just want to build like a 3 color lands deck. Oh, why is this? Why is this guy trying to tell me to make Golos when I could be just building Lord Windgrace? Well, Golos is very good because he's good because that Bast ability is so much better than you think it is. It's just you just keep getting so much card advantage, and then everyone's just like, well. I guess I'll kill Golos. Well, I've already gotten my Avenger of Zendikar and my Rampaging Ball-offs and like 4 land drops. So, sure, you can kill Golos, I guess. But yeah. So overall, I'd recommend you build Golos or anyone on this list. Like all of these are really good commanders because lands is just as an archetype. It doesn't really like the commander isn't the most important part of the deck, but it is a very important part of the deck. But just to end off. This was RARMTG. If you have any comments for any further content you want me to make, just leave them on this video or anywhere on my channel, and that would be much appreciated. Because I don't know what all I think 13 I have subscribers now. All 13 of you want. So if you have any ideas, just leave a comment down below. This is RARMTG. Thank you for watching. Leave a like if you like it, and bye.